friends and enemies. Welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. Len, this is the last show. Oh, no, it's not. It's the second last show, the penultimate show that we will do in September 2024. This is number 182. My name is Joey, as I mentioned here, as always, with my friend, colleague, co-host, and fellow CBP Inc. C-suite member, Len. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, Joey. I'm just enjoying what's going on out there. See some good stories we'll be talking about today. We're going to laugh, cry, get angry, get happy. A little bit of everything. We covered a whole spectrum of all the emotions. I hope that everybody joins us as well. So thank you for joining in. How are you, Joey?
I'm great, man. No complaints. Wasn't feeling that great today. I actually went to a barbecue last night. So I'm on this like journey to figure out why I'm always like bloated and farting, to be honest with you. And
so, could be a lot of calcium or yogurt and dairy products.
I think it is lactose. So I started drinking lactose-free milk maybe the middle of last week for like 3 days. Almost an instant change in the way I felt. And then yesterday went to a barbecue and had all the usual, dips and jalapeno poppers and just nothing but cheese and seed oils everywhere you look. Not to mention, 4 or 5 beers. And so this morning, man, oh my God, I felt absolutely terrible. I still don't feel that great, though. I did get a workout in today, which I'm happy about. Going back to the novice linear progression, some 3x5s for the next few months. Try and build some strength before the baby comes. But yeah, I think I am lactose intolerant. My friends have been telling me this for a long time because, when you have friends for as long as I've had these friends, they know all about you. And they think that I'm lactose intolerant. I have been sort of in denial, but now I'm fairly sure that I have to get off that stuff. Do you have any dietary restrictions? I don't know that you do. I don't think you and I have ever
it's self-imposed. I don't drink coffee. I hate coffee.
Yeah.
I like coffee, the smell. I hate the taste of it. Shit like that.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to try.
I have is allergies that's seasonal. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, my nose was a little plugged up today, which is weird because it was raining all day here. Raining where you are or no?
Yeah, a little bit, but that actually helped. My allergies were okay.
Usually it does. Yeah, usually it does.
Yeah. Whatever. I'll still go out there and I don't take Claritin. Screw that stuff.
No, all that stuff is bad for you. Anything that nerfs your allergic response is not something you want to be taking because that allergic response is important for other systems in your body. Anyway, big show tonight as always. Let's talk about the sponsors first. Easy DNS. Mark took time with me and Len. Was it last week? Pretty sure it was last week.
It was Wednesday last.
It taught us all about the product suite that EasyDNS has in terms of their sort of guarding your security and guarding your domain. This thing called DomainSure. Yeah. And so that it's like it's an excellent suite of products that covers everything from people trying to squat on similarly spelled domains, people spoofing your domain in emails, a million things. I won't get into all the details here. But you can be assured that if you use EasyDNS, DomainSure will protect you from all the nefarious actors out there, which you'd love to see. That is really what a registrar should be doing. And Mark is the friendly neighborhood registrar that you should be working with. In addition, you can have an email with your domain attached to the back. You got to love that. We have the CanadianBitcoiners.com emails, though we don't use them that often. And of course, as well, Mark, infamous for making sure that no matter what you post, you will not be taken down. Even as Australia launches a proposed law that tweeting or posting things that are going to call into question the legitimacy of the banking system going to be illegal over there. Mark won't take you down though. So go over. You can get virtual private server stuff there as well. Of course, BTC Pay servers, Nostr relays, all the Bitcoin stuff. Mark is a Bitcoiner. EasyDNS.com. CBP Media is the code. 50% off your first round of buys with EasyDNS. Can't do better than 50%, can you, Len? Pretty rare.
Free, but we're not going to twist Mark's arm to give people something for free. That's not the way things are going to happen over here. 50% is good enough. But another good thing you get is go sign up with Bull Bitcoin. Use their service because you're not going to get a better place to buy Bitcoin. It's world-renowned. Other people that are Bitcoiners, they wish they have the ability to use Bull Bitcoin here in Canada and in France. Those are only places that you do have the ability to take advantage of Bull Bitcoin. So yeah, check it out. You could do on-chain buys. You could do lightning buys when fees are higher. Fees are not higher though. Fees, for whatever reason, I'm guessing it's the ETF, but I'm not 100% sure. they're staying low. So take advantage. Buy and sell. The on-chain. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. And Bull Bitcoin has you covered. It'll be able to facilitate those buys and sells in case you want to do it. Not just that, you could also then pay some bills. Everybody's been stacking, right? Everybody listening to this show has been stacking for a long time. I hope, right? So, if that's the case, you probably have a large stack of Bitcoin that you've made tremendous gains on. One way you could spend it is you could pay your bills, those ever-mounting bills that you've been neglecting to buy more Bitcoin. And so you could spend the Bitcoin and pay off those bills. And so you'll be back to square one, and you could, fend off those collection agencies and until for at least another month. Also, when Bull Bitcoin
wait a minute. Are you neglecting bills to buy Bitcoin?
Absolutely. I'm buying more Bitcoin as a result of those collection agencies.
Just change your number. Change your number.
There's other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin. You could buy gift cards. And so, you got to go out, you're going to spend some money. Don't spend your Canadian dollars. Spend using Bitcoin. Buy these gift cards with your Bitcoin, and then indirectly you're living on the Bitcoin standard. Not getting any yield, unfortunately, depending if you talk to Michael Saylor. Either way, check them out. If you have not yet opened an account, certainly do so. Use our promo code below. If not, you're going to be a no-coiner. And once you do sign up, you get $21 added to your account once you provide the necessary information. Joey?
You gotta love that.
Number 3.
Yeah, Decentral Technologies. Len, how many messages have you gotten from people who have picked up the CBP branded BitAxe so far?
A few. There's the chat that's going on in our Discord with respect to that, because people were asking about cooling options and stuff like that. And Jonathan thankfully jumped in and talked a little bit about it. He's been active on there. So thank you, Jonathan.
I love it. I've had a few messages myself. Len and I both bought Canadian Bitcoiners BitAxes. Because like I said to somebody, I won't say who in my DMs, we don't take handouts on this show unless it's a t-shirt or a hat. Basically, we don't do any handouts because I don't know, Len, there's no integrity in taking handouts. So we're along for the ride with the CBP BitAxes, just like you guys are. And I hope that you order one. What else can you do at Decentral Tech? Well, let me start with repairs. You got an S21, S19, S whatever. They'll fix your board. You want to buy a new board. You want to buy a new miner. You want to do a little cooling. They can help you with that. If you want to put something in your house that'll help you heat it, help your miner look nice. And of course, as I always say, the solo mining nirvana, I guess you would say, over at Decentral Tech, grab a BitAxe. Your wife won't mind. It'll look cool. I can't wait to put mine up. It'll be whizzing away very, very quietly, if not silently, once it arrives here in the middle of, I think probably the end of October they'll come, right? They ship in the middle of October. So very much looking forward to that. Whatever you need when it comes to mining, especially home mining, these guys got your back. We couldn't be happier to have them as a sponsor. And we are very, very excited to see all you guys buying miners. I know Mark told me during the episode we recorded recently, Len, that he just bought a couple of BitAxes even before the CBP ones came out. So we are introducing people, and like Narwhal saying in the chat here, if you wanted a BitAxe and we can help you get over the edge and buy one, that's great for us and great for them. We want to support that company, and we hope that you guys support them too.
CBP mining pool.
Yeah, I see that. Is that even possible?
Yeah, it certainly is possible.
Yeah. I mean, is it pragmatic? I don't know.
I to be perfect, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to deal with CRA and stuff like that, because a pool would be taking a slice of every block that's built on the pool, and that is revenue earned.
Yeah,
I'm thinking so. Man, oh man, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Anyways, that's good.
Yeah.
If you haven't ordered it, do it. I'm not sure how many are left. 75 are going to be in existence. I ordered 73 myself. Joey ordered one, so there's one left for anybody else.
There's a comment in the chat from Aiden Karadza, the zero maintenance cut. I did get a haircut. I cut all my hair off basically. Which my wife hates it, but it doesn't matter because I'm married.
It grows back.
Yeah, I'm married with a kid on the way. There's not really many options she has in terms of recourse at this point. So
yeah, she's stuck. You're stuck. Yeah, but the thing grows back. That's the beauty of it.
Listen,
you can shave the stupid thing.
I know. I'm with you. I've had long hair for a long time, and there's good things about long hair, of course. But I find, Len, that the sort of older I get, the more I don't want to waste time with like blow drying my hair, styling my hair, stuff like that, especially in the morning when I'm going to the gym. And so all these things are like kind of, in the back of my head all the time. So I went to the barber last week, and he pulled out the scissors to cut the top of my head after he did the fade at the side. I said, "Put them away. We're going all clippers this time." So yeah, happy to have done that.
Not LA Clippers.
Yeah, not LA Clippers. Yeah, not Kawhi Leonard. There's no load management on this haircut. Anyway, so let's do a little housekeeping here before we get into the boost.
Load management, like back in the day.
Oh my god, yeah. Buddy.
Man, the world's got soft, man. Like what the fuck? Here's ball. Go play ball. 48 minutes. And if they go OT, keep going until you're done.
I don't blame you for that point. So listen, last week, Daniela Vialba came on. She is a recent grad of the University of Victoria. We had a great conversation on her thoughts on some Bitcoin stuff. There was even a little dating talk on that podcast. We don't often get to pick a woman's brain on the show, so we had a little fun with that. And then, of course, Len, the reason we were introduced to her, the Learning Bitcoin Conference coming up in 5 days now. It's this weekend in Victoria, British Columbia. If you don't have a ticket yet, use the code CBP. Get, I think, like 50% off, which is a pretty good deal. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to Kerry Lutz, who is the man behind the Financial Survival Network on YouTube. Kerry is a more of a precious metals guy than he is a Bitcoin guy, but we'll talk about Bitcoin. We'll talk about metals. And I think most of all, we'll get his perspective on some of the things that are happening. He's had some great guests over the years on his show. It's a program that I watch fairly frequently. I would say once a week, I got something from him on while I'm working or while I'm brushing a football or while I'm lifting weights. And he's, a guy who, like I said, may not see Bitcoin the same way we see it, but sees the peripheral problems much the same way. And so I'll have a good time talking with him. October 1st, I'm going to be talking to David St. Onge, everyone's favorite currency distributor at conferences, about all sorts of things, debasement, inflation, mining, all manner of things. Dave actually messaged me and said that he bought a CBP BitAxe. So I'm excited to talk to him. I've been meaning to get him on the show for some time. I actually had a plan to interview him when I was in Montreal, but we couldn't hook up because the hotel was way further away from the conference than I thought. But anyway, so that's what's coming up in CBP land. How many boosts we got? We got a bunch of boosts.
Yeah, we got a fair number, but the top 5, we'll start with Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. And he writes in, nice to see some younger British Columbians out here doing so much for the community. Thanks, Daniela.
Yeah. Great stuff. She's doing a lot of good work. If you're a university student or know someone in university or are trying to start a Bitcoin club, reach out to Daniela. Daniela's got some tentacles out in other places around the country now in terms of Bitcoin clubs, thanks to what's going on at UVic and thanks to the conference. So looking forward to seeing what they got going on this weekend. That's going to be a real banger. And I did get some news about next year's conference from her too, off the air. And I would just tell you that you should be on the lookout for that because I think you may be interested, friends and enemies.
Duggan Roop, 525 sats. He writes in, great to hear from a member of the quote unquote Bitcoin youth. Interesting that her peers are just as uninterested as mine. So does this mean we're still early? I think we're extremely early given the fact that how few people out there understand what Bitcoin is, even people that think they're into Bitcoin. And just look at the amount of money, the amount of wealth, capital that's going to be flowing into it. We're still so very early. So yeah, I would suggest keep stacking, not financial advice.
For sure. We definitely are early. Although, Len, if you look at some of the on-chain data from past bull runs, I mean, I hesitate to call what we're in now a bull run, but past, let's say post-halving periods, September, October, November, historically very interesting and made even more so by a rate environment that's going to become favorable, an election, all sorts of things. I would say that early may not be the word we use for much longer.
A lot of variables, and also we have an ETF or several ETFs that are live in the United States.
And if you noticed, in terms of bullish news, I just want to point out to you that your favorite podcast, Bankless, a list of recent episode titles, okay? In defense of the Ethereum roadmap, refuting L2 FUD and the state of Arbitrum. Where's the ETH bottom? Is the Ethereum roadmap off track? Why is ETH down so bad this cycle? Those are titles from
that shitty list of episode titles. Can you imagine? That goes to show you exactly what's going on in the community. If those two guys that are making quite a bit on sponsorship money and whatnot, and they're down on the product. Feel bad for everybody out there that are actually fuck them. Eventually they'll come to Bitcoin. Rander 555 sats. Guys, I hope you cover the ABC whistleblower that came out. We briefly touched upon it last week.
Yeah, the interview or the whatever debate. Yeah, look, I mean, Kamala talking about she wants to have a third debate, and you know that Trump is no longer willing to debate. And I think like he's not dodging the debate, but if you want to do the debate, do it on All In, or do it on this show, or do it on Rogan, or do it on literally any podcast would be better than mainstream media. That whistleblower affidavit, it's you know, as if we needed that, you know, thinking people don't need to see that to know that those things are, you know, rigged at the very least.
There's still a hint of doubt in my mind as to what's happened.
Did you watch did you watch the debate? You watched some of it, right? So like that's what I mean, even if you don't agree with the whistleblower thing, and who knows, right? Anyone can just put a document like that together. There is no doubt that that was a 3-on-1 interview.
It's true. And he mentions it here. He says that Harris had questions given prior to the debate. There's a clear directive to not fact check Harris.
For sure.
Also, there's a 50-50 chance Harris had an earpiece in her right ear feeding.
This is a fun conspiracy. Did you see that conspiracy?
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, Trump was 3-on-1.
Yeah.
And so they could send. There you go. He's saying the whole thing. He's saying Trump is number one option for November, then Vivek for 2028.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
So Bon 1337 sats. Bon.
Elite.
He says that I'm guessing Cheerios eater and chest Doritos are the same people. I guess so.
Cheerio eaters are the best thing, man.
Lightning Mick 2100 sats, and he said he pre-ordered his CBP BitX. Had some small issues with shipping options, but the team got back to him and resolved things nicely over a few days. Nice when you actually get decent service these days. Go DC.
Yeah,
I don't know what DC stands for.
Decentral.
Oh, DC. Okay, that's very cool. I should have figured that out. Now, the fact that he ordered one, I want to say thank you, Lightning Mick. I guess he's on Nostr and he's doing his thing over there for the most part. And everybody out there, if you want one, get one before it's gone. Because, like I said, I bought 73. Joey bought one. This guy bought one. Heck, I don't think there's anything left. So, yeah, I'll put it on eBay, and it's maybe a stocking stuffer for a few people that are not that are nice, not naughty this year.
Nice. I think my uncle might buy one too. Actually, he was telling me he wanted to grab one. Now, here's a question for you. I didn't have the answer for. Can you chain those things?
What do you mean chain those things?
I'll tell you right now. Let me read this. I didn't have an answer for this, and maybe it'll prove that I don't know that much about this.
Are they unchained?
Chain the power of them together so that you're doing the calculations quicker, like making the attempts quicker, as in a server with say 20 video cards used for GPU math processing.
Yeah. So when you join a solo pool, I mean, the ones that I've dabbled years ago, I don't get mine anymore.
Yeah.
You could.
That's basically what it is. Right?
Yeah. Multiple things to the same thing and increase your overall hash rate. So yeah, that definitely is possible with mining pools and solo mining pools.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Anything else before we just dive right into this one?
I think that's it. I don't know. You got anything else? I don't think so.
I don't.
Let's hit the ground running. Yeah.
Let's do running indeed, because Sailor and Safe, they had a tete-a-tete this past week, and it got a lot of buzz on Bitcoin Twitter, or X-Twitter these days, because there was a lot of talk back and forth. The real thing that seemed to raise eyebrows was the fact that the yield talk, and Sailor was talking about if this is giving zero yield, it's a non-performing asset. And, I guess he's somewhat right. I mean, gold would be the same thing. Like if you buy gold, does gold yield more gold? Gold is what it is. It just it's a rock, right? So you're not going to create more gold from gold. You have to go actually mine it, right? Like gold itself is just it's there, right? And
sure.
This Bitcoin, this whole yield thing. I mean, I don't know where this talk is and where this idea comes from. Like, where does the yield come from, and how do you generate it? Is this like some sort of fractional reserve banking you tap into? Because in a closed loop system, if it's truly just Bitcoin that you're dealing with, solely Bitcoin, and it's closed, you got to take if there's yield given, it's got to be taken from somewhere else, from something else.
Who is the yield? You know,
I don't know. Now, if you're not dealing in that system, if there's something else involved, like some sort of paper or something that we can all agree upon that has value, like US dollar, then yeah, certainly yield could come to play. But if you're not dealing with that, if you're dealing with a finite amount of resources, a la Bitcoin, it's impossible to do that in the long run. You could do it, I guess, in the short term, but in the long run, eventually you'll get wrecked because it's impossible to pay out yield when there's no new Bitcoin being generated. You know, so like that's the question I have for him. Like, okay, it makes sense. Okay, it's a store of value, right? Bitcoin is definitely a store of value.
Yep.
So I'm with that. So like that, in order to have yield, though, you have to have an ever increasing money supply. That we don't have that in Bitcoin. Like, I think Saylor is so deep, not just neck deep. He's like in over his head. I'm not saying like he's in over his head, but just he's drowning in the world of TradFi. Mm-hmm. And so he's so into that. This is what he's worked in for decades. And it's hard now for him to untrain what he knows and what he sees. He is a Bitcoiner. Let's be perfectly honest. The dude is not a Bitcoiner. He is truly a Bitcoiner.
He's not a shitcoiner, but he's not a Bitcoiner like you and I are Bitcoiners.
No. He sees it for, I guess, for what it is to a point, but he's a TradFi Bitcoiner. There's a difference between that, right? And there is, like, look at this. He says it all the time. There is no second best. I also would argue, yes, there is no second bet, including investing in MSTR. Invest that accordingly.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, this is the guy that's managing it. Now, he's done a wonderful job at increasing the valuation of the company, basically finding the cheat sheet to create debt and use that to buy Bitcoin, or to dilute and use that to buy Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But that works in this very fiat world where you can do that. Well, dilution that could be done, I guess, even maybe in a Bitcoin world, in a Bitcoin standard, but that I can't see that being done in a Bitcoin standard. So I just look at this. I think in my eyes, Safe is 100% right. Saylor is 100% wrong. That's in a true Bitcoin world. But until then, Saylor may be right, because when you're dealing with US dollars and shit like that, he is right, unfortunately.
Yeah, Boomer's in the chat talking about how this is like overblown. To be honest with you, I don't know how I feel. I listened to it once. I kind of like didn't think much of it. And then on Twitter, this is the only thing people are talking about for like 3 days. Typical Bitcoin Twitter. Like, we are autistic to the core here in a lot of ways. This is a great example of one of these things. I have two problems, right? One is Saylor. I have expressed my distaste for Saylor over the last 6 months, 7 months at this point. I think that other people are coming around to my point of view slowly but surely. The question for me is when he says stuff like it's not money. Okay. It tells me he doesn't really know, or pretends not to know, what money should be, or what money is meant to be, or what money, used to be defined as. Now he's saying it's a non-performing asset. Well, I don't think it's non-performing. If you bought Bitcoin during the pandemic at 3,000 and it's 65,000 now, is it non-performing in your opinion?
His definition, he's not creating anymore.
He's defining it. He's like making up definitions for this stuff.
And I'm not trying to defend him. Like I say, he's wrong in a Bitcoin sense, but in a fiat sense.
And so this is the problem, right? Why he's one of the guys who talks a lot about this, Bitcoin is, the future of money. We can't appreciate this thing if we're worried about these other things. Like Bitcoin, everyone is going to do this eventually. They're going to take out fiat to buy Bitcoin because fiat's so worthless. And then in the next breath, he's talking about getting, fiat on a Bitcoin loan. Like, do I have that right? It just doesn't. It's all there's too many opposing, internally opposing views being held by him at this point. Are there not? When I hear this stuff was Safe, I listen to his conference talk where he predicts $3 trillion market cap or whatever he said recently at some conference. I just think that this guy is he's too smart by a half. right? He's always got something to say, and he's always trying to spin some narrative. And Saifedean tries to, get out in front of it a few times. And I think he's like a good, he's a good interviewer, and he's combative when he has to be. But I just thought that wasn't that great an interview. And I think Len Saylor didn't want it to go that direction, to be honest with you. I think he thought he'd be able to say that and then continue with whatever sort of nonsense talking point he wanted to say. So, I'm looking at some of the chat comments here. Yeah, if I lend you 100K sats for a few years, I would expect to be repaid more than 100K after the term of the loan is over. Fine.
Well, where does that more than 100K? It has to come from their own pocket.
Exactly.
You're not going to take it from somebody else's bank account.
Like it's like somebody is. Yeah,
I'm not going to lend out any Bitcoin with hopes of getting.
Exactly. Who's going to do that, right? And Saylor, for a guy who constantly, like you said, is talking about there's no second best, it seems like an unnecessary risk. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't think so.
Does this change your opinion on MSTR in any way, shape, or form?
I don't really have an opinion on MSTR, except that I use it as like a fiat investment vehicle.
So in terms of that,
I have the what? Go ahead.
In terms of that lens, in terms of like using it as a fiat vehicle, does it change?
No, it doesn't change it. The same way that like I wouldn't even hold it against you if you were like buying mining companies, MSTR. Even if you were like if you were thinking in fiat terms for whatever reason, like when we first started the show, we were talking about moving to Dundas, my wife and I. And I used to say to you on the show when we were a lot smaller and took a lot less shit in the comments that the only reason I was still heavily using my TFSA is because I knew I would need that cash at some point in the next few years. The move is done. I didn't end up using all the cash I thought I would use, and I didn't sell any of the stock. I still buy some stuff every week in my TFSA. As a Canadian, it's like irresponsible not to use your TFSA. That's like not a popular thing to say in Bitcoin Twitter, but it is irresponsible not to use it because you can get a ton of return even in fiat terms using the TFSA. So do I think MicroStrategy is like a worse investment now that he's talking this way? I mean, I never thought it was that great an investment. I just do it because it makes sense to have still in the current state of affairs some purchasing power in the fiat system, like that. It's just a fact. And I appreciate guys like Jeff Booth saying you got to put your money in the Bitcoin system. Yeah, I do. But as like a person, and I mean, this, you have a little one, you and your wife work in the fiat world. Like I work in the fiat world. My wife works in the fiat world. You can't be all in Bitcoin and live a life like that. You just can't. It's very difficult. I think, in my opinion, you're giving up a lot of opportunity thanks to the way the TFSA works. You may disagree with that if you're in the chat, but I would tell you you're wrong. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. I just think that MSTR is a good way to leverage Bitcoin. Right? So
there's like, man, I can't believe we're gonna go on this topic. So there's no like thought moving forward about getting rug somehow in terms of you are confident that whatever you put in, you'll be able in it, the medium to long term, you'll be able to pull it out.
I'm at like my TFSA.
Yeah, 100% you'll be able to pull it out, and you'll be able to get liquidity access, 100% liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two ways to answer that question, right? There's two ways to answer that question. The first way is to say, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get my TFSA out, or no, I'm not going to be able to get it out. You can answer it black and white like that. But the way you should answer it is if you think that your TFSA is at risk, then the next logical step is for you to like sell all your assets and move to a country where you're not at risk. And so like, if the risk is really as much as I may not get back my TFSA because I assume you mean like the government is going to rug me in some way.
That's not a black and white issue because, for example, if you have family here, it's hard to pick up and move somewhere else. So you're kind of, because of commitments, you're stuck here. So
but if you thought the risk was so great that the government was going down a road where it would rug your investments, like take from you years of investing.
We have bail-ins, and this is jargon
there's always a risk. There's always a risk. But my question would be to the person, not that you actually think this, I don't think you think this, but my question would be to the person who's like, there's going to be a bail-in on the TFSA. My question would be like, well, what are you doing wasting time talking to me? Like, shouldn't you be acquiring like guns, ammo, canned food, training a small army of German shepherds, and Bitcoin, like raising a farm,
getting more access to an asset that you have total control over that nobody could rug could to pull the rug from you.
Well, this is the direction you're going though, right? Like if the government rugs your TFSA, it's not going to be the first thing they do. Like the internet rug will come first. The mobile phone rug will come first.
Things will come fast.
Yeah.
And you will not have time to react. The people that
we agree on that. Yeah, we agree.
The people that will get access to their funds first are the top of the pecking order, and we are far from that. We are essentially the yield for these guys and gals. That's what we are. So I refuse to be the fucking yield. So I'm going to choose to.
I did hear yet again this weekend that the Liberal government is mulling the idea of updating the pension mandate to include investing in Canadian companies. So they did have to do that, right? I think 30 or 40 years ago.
Every time you hear more and more of this, and it just adds fuel to the fire. Like, get the fuck out before you won't have any time to get the fuck out. And people will be like, you fucking kept it to the bitter end. What a joke. You had an opportunity to buy Bitcoin, self-custody that, and nobody could take that away. That's gotta be, come on, man. Just because you're picking up nickels in front of a steamroller.
I don't think it's about picking up nickels. I think it's about having to have access to fiat dollars on
okay, that's something else.
Like that's the agility you need, right?
You could still convert your Bitcoin into fiat.
You pay taxes on it. It's what I mean. Like the opportunity cost is significant. You don't want to sell Bitcoin. You'd rather sell the garbage. And so why not just keep the garbage and watch it go up in value against a garbage currency more and more, by the way. Who knows what the next rate cut cycle is going to look like. We're about to find out, obviously, but it's, I don't think it's fair to say that you shouldn't be invested. If you're like a standard household, that you shouldn't be invested in whatever your bag is, right? Like if it's the index, fine. If it's MSTR, fine. If it's the miners, fine. Like I don't have any beef with that. I've never had any beef with that. I'm not like that extreme in my view.
Oh, but people can do what they want.
I know.
I'm just sit on the sideline and laugh.
Yeah, you should still have though. Like the exposure you should have to spot BTC should be greater than those things, though. I would say.
Fucking right, and that should be ever growing too. It's not just something that's stagnant. And the other things you could. So and in order to do so, you're going to have to pull out from one and put into the other. When I mean from pulling out from one, it's pulling out of your TFSA bag and putting into the spot Bitcoin. So that's that's just me. Everybody can do whatever
let me ask you then. Like, if you're me, think about someone in my shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
My wife's about to give birth in 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it ends up being. Knock on wood. Like, would you have me move all my stuff out of my TFSA right now into spot Bitcoin and then try and live off spot Bitcoin while the incomes are cut in half in my household?
It's a challenging time.
It's not challenging. There's only one right answer. No, you would not sell your TFSA. You would keep the TFSA in cash as long as you need the cash in some not too distant future.
You're giving a blanket answer. You see now,
but that's because there's only one answer. The one I just gave. Okay. Yeah, there is no other correct answer. I don't know what you're going to say, but it's not going to be correct. That is the correct answer.
See, not only are you wrong, you're fucking wrong. There's a big difference between the two. When you're fucking wrong, so what you should do, like in my opinion, and granted, it's easy for me to be an armchair quarterback. I don't have access to everything, but certainly I would stay the course in your opinion and what you're trying to do. And once your wife goes back to work, and if all bills are paid, you don't have any debt, then you could start doing the slow chopping of the TFSA into Bitcoin. Because at that time, you're saying it's going to be a year and a half into the future. Mm-hmm. And we're a year and a half closer to going to hyper Bitcoinization. Everything's not going to be in a better state by then. We're just going to be in a much worse state. How bad will it be? I think you'll be okay to pull out your money at that time. But for how much longer? I don't know. I would not rather continually roll the dice to just pick up more nickels in front of that steamroller. Fuck it. We've seen so many people get wrecked in the process. I would just rather simply, as soon as I can, convert it. As soon as optimally I can convert it.
What do you put the odds of a rug, in the vein that you're describing? It seems to me, a pretty extreme rug. I don't know, 5 years.
I think it's very possible. What I fear, I could be way, way off on this. What I fear is that people's capital that's in the market, they're going to keep it in the market. They're going to forcefully keep it in the market. They don't want markets to dive.
Yeah.
They don't want market caps to go down. So they may just forcibly say you could take some of it out, but you can't take all of it out. And so your exposure to Apple, to Amazon, to MSTR, to whatever will remain at least a high proportion of your overall portfolio. You can take a portion of it out and go from there. But I think they're going to prevent total liquidation. That's just my opinion. And that's going to happen, I think, in 5 years. Fuck, look how bad things have gotten in 5 fucking years. 5 years
basically since COVID. Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
And this 35 trillion is going to be 45 trillion in 5 years. And now it's just a number, I know, but we have to respect the fact that that number is taking a huge toll on people's savings, elderly. It's taking a huge toll on people's wages, middle class. It's taking a huge toll on people trying to get any assets. We're talking about young people getting out of school. Everybody's getting fucked. So something's going to happen. They're not going to sit idly by and say, "Oh, Federal Reserve, keep continually what you're doing." No, something's going to happen. Yeah. And whenever it happens, I'd rather be in the right side of history by having as much money as I can in Bitcoin. I wouldn't trust anything else. Fuck gold, fuck everything else. Bitcoin seems to be the best horse in this race.
For now, yeah, I think you're right.
Certainly things could change. It's not going to be in a long enough time horizon. Bitcoin will go to zero. It may take millions of years. It may take 100 years. Who
the heat death of the sun.
Hey, long enough time horizon, it equals to zero. Yeah. Whatever the number is.
Yeah, I think there's like we're gonna see exactly what the nature of the risks are pretty soon. Like I said in the open, Australia proposing this law about not being able to tweet anything that calls into question or lowers confidence in the banking system and financial markets and currency. That's a big red flag. That's something you do right before you have a problem with your banking system and your markets and your currency. And that, to me, that's a big one. So yeah, I mean, obviously, we're kind of just, me and you are just puttering around the edges here in this discussion.
Here.
Yeah. Because you and me are not really, like I'm not materially allocated to anything except my house and Bitcoin at this point.
And beyond that, what happens to me, it has zero impact on the global scale. I'm just a fucking drop in the bucket, and not even a drop in the bucket. I'm just a drop in the ocean in reality. So like what I do, it moves absolutely nothing. But it moves my world. So yeah. And one thing that's going to happen in Canada is, we're going on a tangent here, the real estate market.
Yeah,
that's the one that's really.
So we should mention. You just said, there's an attempt to keep money in the market to stop things from falling. When you look at the legislation that was just proposed, I guess is passed now. What do you see there? You really see that there's no benefits to people who already own homes, right? You're not going to buy a new build if you already own a home, and you're not going to be a first-time buyer if you already own a home. So the benefits are just for people who are trying to get into the market, right? They want to drive more money into the housing market and make sure that people in the market don't leave. Interesting. I thought that they went that direction. Predictable though, right?
They're doing everything they can, I think, to keep this thing steady as she goes, but there's only so much pressure they could push on it.
Is this a story you want to talk about?
We could talk about it later on, I guess.
Sure.
But
okay.
I mean, there's still more Bitcoin related stories. We should be chopping them up. We're almost 40 minutes in. We'll do a few quick ones. Like Cathedra. This is, I think, an indication of what's going on in the world of Bitcoin mining, publicly traded Bitcoin miners, because they announced this past week their goal is going to be a new Bitcoin treasury strategy, and all capital related decisions is going to be with the sole intent of trying to increase their sats per share ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. And remember, they did a merger not too long ago with that company that was a developer and operator of high intensity computing infrastructure. So that was back in June. And now they are not going to do expansion of any mining. They'll host for other people, but themselves, they're going to try to allocate as much of their capital to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. Kind of like the MicroStrategy approach, I guess. That's the closest comparison, I think. They say right now, Cathedral holds 43 Bitcoin, or about 5 sats per share. Really cool.
Yeah.
And like looking at this, it's interesting, but also they said they're going to take they'll do stuff against their balance sheet assets. Like they're going to be doing some debt. They'll be taking, they'll be using Bitcoin linked derivatives to generate income. I don't know. That's covered calls, and we could talk about that in a bit. So
that's not a big deal, right? That's actually the Bitfarms synthetic HODL strategy. Same thing.
So I'll give you an example. Like if you want to do the covered call stuff, there is a ticker in Canada, BTCY, and it's going to be the same that Blackrock's options ETF that just came live or announced this past week. Mm-hmm. If you want to check, there's a chart, Joey. I'm going to send it in the private chat if you want to share it. Sure. Compares the BTCC, that's one of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in Canada, versus this BTCY, this covered calls thing. And you can see the divergence right from the very beginning that the covered calls ETF is vastly underperforming the spot Bitcoin ETF. So simply, I'm not trying to say that buy into a spot Bitcoin ETF. I'm just trying to say just simply buying Bitcoin itself versus, if you could scan this. Oh shit, it didn't do it. So if you go on the top left, this is comparison. So just on the left side.
Am I supposed to be further
down?
Here,
further down.
Sorry. Oh, here, yeah.
Yeah. And type in BTCC. And there you go. Punch that in. Press save. And change the time frame to a year or something like that. So at the top, go to 1 year.
Yeah, so you can see gap.
It's a massive. So like doing these covered calls thing, like maybe it works in some environments if the number go up, but if it's choppy, it's not good. I don't know. Either way, if I had to invest in one of the two, and granted, past performance is not going to guarantee future performance as well, but I would say like, fuck, just buying simply Bitcoin itself is the way to go, not dealing with this covered call bullshit. So, yeah, Cathedrals, you're saying they're doing it, and so is Bitfarms. Looking at that chart, how impressive is it?
It's not, but if you mine Bitcoin, does it make more sense than someone who just hodls it?
But you're still going to lose just by doing this covered call. Just based
on that. I'm just asking. I don't know. Honestly, it's above my pay grade. It's hard to say. Like, do you think the sats per share thing is a valid metric?
Yeah, why not? If they want to use that as the be all and end all to value their company, I'm cool with that. Like, I have no issues with it. And if they can increase it somehow without raising debt, that'd be amazing. Taking on debt, I have serious concerns with anybody doing it, because I just looked at what happened with other companies, namely Core Scientific. And I know it's a different animal, but man, that left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't see why not, right? It's
whatever it is.
Well, I also just like, I personally don't, I get why the sats per share is a nice metric for the Bitcoin crowd, but from, in terms of like sats per share as a quote unquote productive asset or productive piece of a puzzle, like why do I care about that as a shareholder? Because like we've said before, right? If you are investing in a Bitcoin company, then you have to be doing it because you need the associated fiat gains, in my opinion. If you're going to invest in a Bitcoin company solely for sats per share, boy, do I have news for you. You can just buy the sats yourself without worrying about the company. Like, that's the thing I don't get, right? And, as much sort of bag holding as I do on the TFSA side, that's a distinction that's pretty clear to me. If you're going to buy a company for sats per share, just buy the sats yourself. There's no risk. Yeah.
Just buy the sats, or if you have to put it like one of those spot ETFs,
yeah,
at least it's matching.
That's right. And so what's the benefit? What am I missing here? No one's been able to tell me in clear terms what exactly the appeal is of the stats per share.
Why would you invest in any miner?
Like I said, the only reason you would invest in a Bitcoin company is because you need some fiat exposure for the fiat world, and you want to benefit from Bitcoin's growth.
Yeah, but those are what the ETFs.
ETFs that's what I mean. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't know, Len. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Not only
higher beta, maybe higher beta, like they go up more a little bit, but I mean, that's
all the risk that comes along with it. They could dilute. They could go bankrupt for stupid reasons or they could buy jets. Like
they could hire a DEI board or something. Like anything
Remember
can happen.
CleanSpark, they bought a jet?
Yeah.
So like shareholders are fucking funding that.
Yeah,
Right?
you're on the hook for it if you're a shareholder. How many jets? We got to get the jets per share metric. That's what we got to find out. That's what I want to invest in.
And the CBP, we still have to start our own jet.
We're going to be if we buy a jet, we'll be at 0.5 jets per share, which is pretty good.
No.
How many shares are
jets?
you want to get more than one jet?
Oh.
We're DCAing into jets. Okay, I didn't know.
Let's not fuck around here. Bitmain, I'm not sure if you saw this, but they released some new hardware, and this is in partnership with Hut 8. Very interesting stuff here, Joey. It's called. They have great names, by the way. Bitmain, they have S9, S15, S17. Like they got all these, the S's, right? And even the derivatives, the S21 Pro, S21 XP, all this shit. But this one doesn't make sense to me. U3 S21 EXPH. The fuck does this mean? I don't know. Either way, it's an absolute beast, though. This is 13 joules per terahash, so it's pretty damn efficient. It's 860 terahash per second, Joey. That's like fucking almost a petahash. That's a fucking lot of fucking. It's the most powerful equipment that apparently hit the market, and they do direct liquid to chip cooling, because this thing obviously creates a heck of a lot of heat, and the way that they decided to mitigate that, they have liquid to chip cooling direct on this, and this is going to be initially used and deployed by Hut. Each unit consumes almost 12 kilowatts of electricity.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't know why. Like, this is interesting, and granted, but I just question, how did Hut get involved? Why did Bitmain work with them? Like, what's the partnership here? Like, how are they both benefiting from this, and what's the end game here? It just seems strange that they're going to be releasing this and it's in partnership with Hut. Did Hut just come up with an idea and then have Bitmain execute it for them? I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Here's the partnership. Fixed fee hosting agreement up to 15 exahashes per second, fixed price purchase option or 6-month purchase option window. De-risked capex like growth, accretive base case, free call option, blah blah blah. This is what they're saying in the literature. The deployment is expected to increase Hut 8's hash rate under management by 81%, with a potential path to 20 exahashes of self mining. So they're going to host, they're going to buy, and they're going to host. And I think it's meant for obviously industrial partners, right, or industrial clients. The thing that is most amazing to me is that these things are going in the same racks as the current gen of miners.
Yeah.
How is that?
The CBP mining, garage mining setup, we could just simply replace our S9s and slap in a few of these guys. Might be a little loud, and the city block may not get much electricity, but fuck
sure. Yeah. Entire city will be dark, but hey, 30, 40 cents an hour. Yeah, no problem. So this is a partnership that's meant to be, it's geared around. It is geared around that Hut has the storage for these things, and they will do hosting for you. So, why is Hut getting into hosting? It's like we've seen this story before, right? It's not new,
right?
I don't know.
That's the thing. This shit tends to repeat itself over a long enough period of time. Fuck it.
So, what are these guys doing better? Than any of the other hosting services in the past? That all got their teeth kicked in. Everyone remembers how much of a darling. What was the name of that company? We had their CEO on.
I know who you're talking.
His name was like Chip Walker or something like that.
Is that Compass Mining?
Compass, yeah, that's right. Compass was like the darling, sort of the apple of the Bitcoin eye for a long time, right? You go there. I'm hosting a miner. McCormick was another guy who was pumping Compass Mining. That guy's track record for sponsors continues to impress. And they just couldn't do it. Why? Because it's hard to scale. Power purchase agreements are hard to come by. And maybe there's some thought by Hut that they have all this stuff in place now and it's unshakable. Is that potentially why they're deciding to get into this? I don't know.
Hard to say. Maybe they have a whole bunch of new assets after their dealings with Validus. They took over some of what they had, I guess. Yeah. I have no idea.
Who knows?
That was like I don't want to get into that one. I feel bad for some of the people that were involved.
That was a gong show. But so to the questions here, Boom Dust in the chat, how big are the machines? They say they're the same size as the ones that are currently out there. shoebox fit in the literature. You can go to if you just type in HUD 8 and Bitmain, you'll see the like whatever prospectus document basically. I don't know, man. I just like, we've done this before. Also, HUD is not like.
P-Man's asking for more McCormack heat.
I'm not going to give more McCormack heat.
I'll say one. This is
Go back and listen to, we took it down from the feed. We did an interview when we were in our infancy on this show with Sue Ennis, who at the time was the investor relations lead for HUD. And we didn't have nearly the interview chops, the sort of like broad industry credit. Not that we have tons of it, but we have way more than we used to. And the sort of listener base that would hold us to the fire if we didn't ask hard questions. We still asked some questions I thought that were like pretty easy to answer and shouldn't have been that difficult to get really quality dialogue going. And, you know, I don't think we got good answers from Sue.
She was relatively new. I'm not trying to give her a pass, but really,
she's relatively new, but like now she's the fucking VP. So
you know, like, you got to get somebody that's racking fucking these.
You need expertise. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the guy you got to get in the fucking horn.
So they got Aiden whatever now, I think, right? He's their CEO. I forget his name, but
they merged with
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I mean, look, you know, again, miners. You know, I'm not sure why you'd invest in them, but this is what you get if you invest in them. And if you like this kind of deal, then I would love to hear why. That's for sure. You know, my DMs are open. Tell me why we're, you know, wrong to be concerned about this.
It sounds good. You're getting exposure in this high tech industry.
Amazing,
right? Like you're not, you know, you're 37% bonds, right? You're like 3% into Bitcoin mining, shit like that, right? And some gold, some silver.
It looks good on your portfolio. Is that it? I don't know.
Maybe you invested a little bit into the Bedford,
and like, you know, like I didn't think like Jamie Leverton was the CEO of HUT and they cut her loose basically, like unceremoniously.
It's because it was the merger.
I know, but like, you know, what was none of this? I don't like any of this stuff.
Well, let's talk about something else that we should not like. Did you see the fucking Donald Trump making rounds on Bitcoin Twitter about the transaction he made at the New York bar? Did you see
friend of the show, Drew Armstrong? Taking the president's phone there. Yeah.
Just talking about Cathedral a moment ago. Apparently, this is the first transaction that Trump has ever made in his life. And I could understand that because this boomer was struggling to fucking do a QR code to scan that. How fucking hard is it? Like,
he's the Bitcoin president. He's the Bitcoin president.
He's the Bitcoin. But like, in terms of the technical knowledge you need to fucking scan a QR code, that is so low on the totem pole. And this guy couldn't fucking do it. Either way, someone pointed out this was custodial Lightning transaction too. Yeah. So that's.
I mean, do you care? Let me ask you something. Okay, all the technical stuff aside, custodial, non custodial Lightning QR codes. Do you give a shit about this? Do you care
that he's doing this?
Yeah,
it's a bad look, if anything, because they were wondering, did it go through? And it went through, and it went through. Yeah, so there was questions if it was going to go through, and it just looked like really bad.
Bush League
Lightning in itself should be fucking easy and quick as long as there's liquidity. It should be done like that. And why this took so long, and why did it took so many people to get involved? I mean, a few people just looked so bad and like awful, in my opinion. This isn't the way it should be. We got to make this thing better, easier to use. I mean, I think it's easy to use already in terms of just fucking scanning a picture, but what the fuck do I know? It's got to be done better. This is the guy that's going to be championing Bitcoin. Also, that Trump coin he's going to be championing as well.
That was my next question for you. You know, I have a hard time understanding. I mean, don't get me wrong. I realize that there's like infinite potential in terms of the benefit to having a presidential candidate, potentially the most famous and popular man on the planet, who is also at the same time the most famous and most hated man on the planet, in your bar doing a quote unquote Bitcoin transaction. I get that. But man, that was like what, 2 days after the WorldFi token launch? 3 days after?
That was last week.
That was last week. We started the show at 6 last week to get out of that guy's airspace. And I mean, the only benefit of them going to PubKey was that the Red Scare girls were there too, and they talked to Trump about coming on their podcast and got it on video. I would love to see Trump on Red Scare. That would be like,
who's that?
Must-see TV. Oh my God. Red Scare is my favorite podcast for sure. It's so great. CBP? No, it's not ours. It's Red Scare. It's
Red Scare. What are they talking about?
Listen, it is very politically incorrect. And so I will just, make a statement here that I don't agree with everything the girls say, but I think they're pretty funny. If you can get past the vocal fry, then you'll enjoy the show.
Did you see now that Blackrock, this being reported, I have no confirmation of this, but it seems interesting that they're saying that Blackrock is now telling Coinbase they have to deposit and settle their on-chain transactions 12 hours after the fact. So remember we were talking before, I don't think we both, in fact, we didn't believe in the fact that there's paper Bitcoin that's being sold by Coinbase because of the fact of regulations, and there's so much that could be lost. But now it seems funny that BlackRock's intervening to try to make sure that, no, this is not the case. Fucking do it, settle. And this has to basically just put this to rest, that there's some paper BTC that's being done.
For sure it does. BTS. For sure it does. Yeah.
And I think that maybe I'm wrong. I could be proven wrong, but man, like why would they do this? It doesn't make sense. There's so much that they could lose as a result of this. If Bitcoin goes up, right? Like if they're trying to suppress the Bitcoin, why would they do this? If Bitcoin goes up in price, they're going to benefit because there's going to be more sales they're going to make from Bitcoin and their shitcoins, and more people are going to look at Bitcoin, and they'll be flocking. At least a portion will be flocking.
I agree.
So
listen, I put this in the title of the podcast for tonight because I thought we would talk about it. The thing that I think is worth noting about this is that it's BlackRock asking for it and not Coinbase saying, no, like we settle every 12 hours. What were they settling? Like what time frame were they settling before?
I don't know.
I can't find that anywhere. Was it a day? Is it 2 days, 24 hours? Was it the T-3 thing? I have no idea. But it's interesting, right? And Coinbase at around the same time, Predator pointing this out recently, they seem to be going down this road, rehypothecation, right? With CBTC or CBBTC, whatever. And so like BlackRock, for all the shit we give them for being Johnny come lately and they don't get the ethos, they just want the gains, seems to me like maybe somebody over there gets it. And I'm happy to see this because this is something that we should be this is a standard we should be holding these guys to, right? I think it's overdue. I really wish I knew what the settlement time was now. It seems to me like even 12 hours is a bit long. Like, why not just settle at the end of every day?
Maybe that's what they do.
But the 12 hours would be longer than every day, right?
I don't fucking have
like 12 trading hours. Like, what is it? I don't know.
I don't have. But the fact that they're trying to put a nail in a coffin is whole debate about the paper Bitcoin. Yeah. I just found it to be rather interesting. And to be honest, I couldn't find much to support this if this is legitimate or not. It could be just some rumor that's floating on.
It's Bitcoin around Twitter. Though. Like a few places have tweeted it, so it's not just Bitcoin accounts.
We've had this in the past. This shit gets floated around. It's until it's verified.
Before we go to the notable stories, do you want to talk Riot and Bitfarms?
Yeah, we could talk about that. So Riot and Bitfarms, they came to an agreement, and it's looking rather good for Riot, probably not so good for Bitfarms in the end. Either way, with respect to Bitfarms, there's going to be some shuffling of the deck for the directors, and they put in somebody that is a new director that may be more amendable to the Riot acquisition. So if you
for sure.
And so the Bitfarms co-founder stepped down. He's no longer on the board. So that's just a FYI. So you have one of the co-founders is no longer there. And just goes to show you when somebody that was there from the beginning left, the direction of the company may go a different place.
He's forced out, right? The other thing too is they added a board seat. So that new board seat will be on the comp committee, which means they'll be deciding Ben's salary and Jeff Lucas's salary and all the C-suite guys' salary. They're going to be on two other committees as well. If you've ever done board work, you know that the board of directors is sort of this like I think I would call them like political bodies first and foremost. A good board is political together toward external actors. A difficult board is political with each other toward internal actors. And I think that this board is heading that second direction now. So Ben put out a statement that he's for it. He looks forward to now focusing on growth, blah, blah, blah. I think at some level, they're probably just glad to be done with this until 2026. It's basically when the standoff order expires. It's not actually called a standoff order. It's called something else. But, it's like, are they going to try and just make good over the course of the next 2 years? And then Riot's going to say, nah, that's not what we wanted. It's not as good as you said it was going to be. It doesn't meet our standard, blah, blah, blah. Maybe. I don't know. But if you're a shareholder of Bitfarms or Riot, this is certainly interesting news for you. Kind of out of left field too, by the way. These guys were getting ready to have a shareholder meeting on the 26th. And as Jeff said, when he was on our show a few months ago, that was the, I think, proposed date for the poison pill. So now that's, I guess, out the window. I don't know. I'd have to look more into this. This news only hit today. So there'll be more on this for sure. And I look forward to seeing what Ben says in his public appearances over the next 48, 72 hours.
That's it, Joey. Let's do the notables.
Let's do it. God bless. Stay here if you're on video or spaces. And if you're on audio, we'll see you tomorrow for more news.
Don't invest in TFSAs. Don't listen to Bankless, and don't be a cock.
1 hour, 27 seconds. Hey, great. That was a good hour there. I mean, where should we start on the notables? We got a couple of bangers here.
Well, 50 basis points, right? I think that's the biggest news, right?
Rome.
And maybe they're trying to catch up the Bank of Canada, because Bank of Canada, I don't know, like 50 basis points, it seems like it's a rather steep cut. I'm surprised it didn't test the water with 25 to see what happens, but political pressure probably.
Yeah, the thing, and Keith Thicker mentioned this on Looney Hour as well, friend of the show, who we should probably get back on maybe in November. Oh, I guess not. I'm having a kid. I got to figure out my schedule for that stretch. But mentioned this on Looney Hour, and we talked about it last week too. We've talked about it in a number of different group chats that you and I are both in. You know how many times the Federal Reserve has cut 50 points when there wasn't either a known crisis or a crisis on the horizon?
Zero.
You
know, when the last time they did a 50
people
basis
on audio,
point
0
cut?
times. Yeah, I don't know when.
2008.
Was it, or was it 20? When did they cut? What did they cut in 19? When the repo market went sideways in November, I think. Wasn't that a 50-point cut, or was it a 25-point cut?
The information I have, the last one was done in 2008.
I believe it. Yeah.
So that's
where's the crisis, right? The currency market for the States is the big fish in the pond. So devaluing the currency has impacts on global markets. Maybe they're doing that to help protect another, G7, G20, whatever market from collapsing and starting a domino effect. Who knows? No one knows. The problem is all the 50 IQ reporters in that fucking conference room with Powell just keep asking the same question. What data are you looking at? And why did you only, and are you going to cut 50 again in November? And do you think this is going to influence the election? Like, just brain dead, man. Even if you're one of these people who's like, the media doesn't just lie about everything, you have to watch those press conferences and just think that these people are incompetent. Everyone's short of probably like Tim Rose, right? Who actually does a little bit of writing, it seems like, on Fed policy for the Wall Street Journal. But the rest of them, man, oh my God, just brutal. So what's going to happen now to inflation? They're basically saying, if you're on Main Street, sorry, TTYL, good luck.
Well,
good luck, have fun. Prices are going to go back up. Everything's going to start to roll again.
They're saying it's 2.5% the last number. So, right, like it's not going to be instant. Whatever the reaction is going to be, it will take a year or two before it's finally captured in whatever statistic they want to manipulate. So at that point, it's long. We can't do anything. Gas is up quite a bit, and whatever. If you look at what's happened, this is not going to be the only one, because I did some research. They did 11 consecutive rate hikes prior to this. 11 consecutive rate hikes. And so it's not like they're going to do a simple 50 basis point cut, maybe 125 after that. It's going to be a series of them. Maybe not 11. Maybe it will be more. Who the heck knows? But it's going to be a chunk that's going to be done until they get to the ground floor. And then when they realize, we got to start raising again. But credit is now cheaper now than it was a week ago. So guys carrying like credit cards, auto loans, line of credit, shit like that, they're paying slightly less than they were doing before. So it's a little bit easier to stomach. What's going to be the end result of this? Who the hell knows? It's all fake, right? Like it's just totally fake, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, every time I see this, and I just am so numb to it, and it impacts my life because my savings, my wages, everything everything gets impacted, but it's so fucking fake.
Bank is going to start calling you pretty soon and asking you to lock in 5 years at the current rate. I'll tell you that, because this is the indicator that the easing cycle has really started. We're already a few cuts in over here, but there's, now there's no end in sight to the relief you'll get through interest rate lowering.
You know what I didn't check? What's the yen doing? Because that's always a big topic of discussion.
The yen is one to look at, and the other one I've been looking at is the DXY, dollar index.
You're a big fan of that.
Well, because it's like a pretty good indicator about what's going to happen next with Bitcoin, right? Like, under normal circumstances, dollar weakness means Bitcoin strength, means equity strength, means commodity strength. So, I think if you subscribe to that train of thought or that school of thought, then it is something to keep an eye on, I think, and like, it's kind of trending. It's been trending down the last little while. So,
how's the Singapore dollar doing?
They don't have an index, unfortunately. Hard to say. They're not included in any major currency baskets over there.
How do we get them involved?
I don't
know. Certainly they're underrated, in my opinion. And something which is not underrated in what's going on, I guess, in a lot of parts of the world, because we're on the brink of World War III, right? Look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Fucking pagers, man. Pagers are fucking exploding. Who the fuck uses pagers these days? Doctors, I think, are the last group of individuals that use pagers, I think.
Yeah.
Aside from that, who the fuck would use this? I mean, it's like CB radio territory, if you ask me. Like, I'm just flabbergasted. Like, let's break this down. I can't get over this for whatever reason. Joey, how can anybody carry a fucking pager these days? What are you gonna? Oh, somebody paged me. Now I have to go to the fucking toll booth and fucking make a call. Everybody has a fucking cell phone. You're gonna pick up your cell phone and call. Why don't you just call the cell phone directly instead of fucking paging the pager?
We talked about this with Mark because we said the reason they do this is because there's less tracking. It's lower fi tech, right? Great, fine. I guess that's a reasonable thing to think. Do you know the story of how they were able to pull this off? They set up a shell company, and the shell company manufactured pagers and sent them to these like Hamasniks or whatever all over the region. Over the course of like a year, Len, these guys have been wearing these pagers. And I think that it's weird to me that they like, do none of these guys like go to the airport or like, go through x-ray machines or anything like that? You would imagine a terrorist would be like doing these sorts of things, but I guess they didn't for a while. And so these pagers with all this basically gunpowder inside, they were never discovered to have this gunpowder inside because they never went through any security checkpoints, at least not the ones that they needed to go through to catch this stuff. And then they hit them with the message bombs, right? They just like sent them a bunch of texts, the battery heats up, and then boom. Crazy, man. That is. Now, the other question I have for you, do you think the United States could ever pull off something that like tightly targeted and tightly executed? Me neither.
No, I don't think so either. How would, like, you're gonna go? It would have to be a different device. You'd have to, instead of using pagers, it'd be some sort of Nokia or something. You have to move up in terms of the tech, and maybe then you could probably pull it off. But nobody's going to use a Nokia these days. You get fucking laughed at. You get laughed at using a fucking pager.
I don't know. That's not necessarily true. Like,
they're
like trendy, Len. The old tech is trendy now. Don't you have a rotary phone in your house? It's a discussion piece.
Well, it's right next to my 8-track player. So yeah, people come in. The hell is that? Let me just tell you about dancing at the disco, buddy. Listen to this.
You want your music to have texture? Let me show you what that sounds like.
But like this thing, like it's getting close to like World War III.
Yeah,
is Hezbollah now? They're launching these fucking missiles back, these rockets at Israel, and they call it like an open-ended battle. Like this is just, it's open warfare over there. I like studying World War I or World War II. World War I, it's kind of, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it was a domino effect, right? There was tensions already to begin with, and then that guy killed the prince, and then
Ferdinand.
Ferdinand, Archduke Ferdinand, and then the blank check from Germany and the alliance between Russia and France and all this shit just spiraled out of control. But now you kind of have the same thing. Iran is involved heavily with Hezbollah, and with Iran now they're part of BRICS, and you would imagine China is somehow involved. Then you can't forget about what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. That's still in the background, and Ukraine is now sending shit over deeper into Russian territory, and Russia wants to annex part or all of Ukraine. I don't know what the fuck they want to do. Like, it's just a disaster. And you have this guy at the helm of the United States that what Donald Trump says, he's
what guy? It's his wife. It's his wife.
His wife. She's leading all these meetings. I don't know, man. Like, it just, you see this, and this election is going to be an absolute disaster if one wins. I don't want to say who, but right, you don't want somebody that's going to be a pushover. You want somebody there that's going to be able to just calm things out and iron out all these fucking problems. But whatever.
We're just along for the ride, right? You and me. It's like, whatever. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just happy to have my sat stack, and the memes are great. The memes have been great. It's good. Trump tweeting out like all the Haitian cat AI pics. Like, that's pretty funny. I've enjoyed those.
But see, even like an Iranian ambassador was hurt in Lebanon. A Hezbollah MP, there's the son of the Hezbollah, or one of the Hezbollah MPs, was killed in this pager attack.
Brutal.
Like, you're now escalating it. You're getting into people that are in the bureaucracy or elected officials.
Yeah.
And then at that point, because now you're getting closer to the higher ups or people that are able to manipulate or change laws, then it becomes, okay, things could really escalate from here. And what happens? What's the end game? I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be just a global conflict, but I'm not sure how to get around this. And you got fucking Syria is still a mess, and they're trying to get out of Iraq. United States is trying to get out of Iraq, and that's going to be like a fucking vacuum. Then you have the Taliban, one of the fucking most armed militaries in the world after that bug out. So they could do whatever the fuck they want. They could control all the Middle East with what they have.
Yeah.
What a fucking disaster this is. Right? Like, I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. UK, brother. Let's talk about the UK.
Sure. Which story?
It's a good one because teachers. It's a good acceleration story, I think. Why is that a good acceleration story? Because teachers over there, looks like they're going to be allowed to work from home as a way to boost recruitment.
I love it.
So they're going to be potentially being offered opportunities, I say, to work from home during free periods. And those are periods where they're going to do prep work for a class or markings or other
prep
stuff.
Periods, by the way, in schools, completely fake. I've been in schools in Ontario as a teaching student, and teachers just talk shit about the kids during the prep period. There's no prep being done. That's a fact.
It looks like they might be doing this so they're going to be doing block times for this prep. They're trying to at least try that. And then if that's possible, then potentially allowing these teachers to do that stuff from home. And let's go back to COVID times. How good was it when teaching was being done remotely? I know they're not talking about teaching here per se, the prep time, but how it's it's a step away from then actual class being conducted remotely. And I can say firsthand, my daughter was home doing grade 2 and 3 at the time when they locked things down. It was difficult to get much out in terms of the whole experience. I understand why they did. I'm not trying to discuss. I'm just trying to tell you what's the end result. It's when you're dealing with other kids, you get more out of it, I think, because you're in an environment with them, social, you build on those tools. Plus, there's illnesses that go around, and I think you build some immunity when you interact with people that are sick to a degree. You don't want to get something that's going to fuck you up permanently, but getting common cold, I think there's some benefit to that for the most part if you're young, because then you can build immunity that as you get older. So like, man, these teachers over there, potentially they're going to be working from home. Maybe opportunities for us to go work over their joy. Like, maybe, right? Let's go. We can work from home and do the prep time, the show at the same time.
Get a visa.
Fuck. Let's do
kids really getting fucked by this, which is terrible. Like that's the saddest thing, right? Because you just can't. And like, look, I went to teachers college. I did my placement or whatever. I'm not an educational professional, but you don't need to be to understand that there is no good way to teach from home or to have teachers working from home or doing prep, whatever this is from home. There's no good way because schools are a community environment. And they're one of the very few community environments that really need two things. They need quality people, and they need quality people attending the community events, attending classes in the hallways, at the gyms, at the seminars, at the, whatever, right? At the assemblies. I don't know. I don't know why they want to increase, I don't know why they want to headhunt this way, because what kind of people are you going to get applying for jobs are arguably maybe the most important job in modern economies, the one that needs the most attention, the highest quality people at this point anyway. You want to attract people who think it's a good idea to work at home. You should be raising the salary of teachers, making it difficult to become a teacher, and then seeing what kind of people you get and watching the dead weight fall off the vine little by little, and over time you get a better product. The other story from the UK, I don't know if you have this one either. Keir Starmer wants to start closing bars earlier because he thinks people drink too much. No beer, Keir. No beer, 2-tier Keir. Unbelievable. Can you believe that? This guy is like the least popular man on the planet at this point. Just he can't get it right.
Well, those pubs, they're gonna fucking get. I don't know, man. He got in. And it was recent, that election, right? It was this year.
It was like 2 months ago.
Yeah. What happened to the guy that he replaced, the Sunak guy? Did he end up?
He's working.
Sunak.
He's working for the
WEF. You know what the WEF?
He's working for the WEF.
Right. We both came to the same conclusion. So yeah, whatever. That's the graveyard for a lot of these politicians. God. Isn't
him and Jacinda Ardern probably there too?
I was gonna say here. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yeah. So.
We are on the same wavelength tonight. No. That's great.
Yeah. Well, there was talk about her in one of our chats there's a spiral. Whatever.
Great.
Not going in the right direction. And Canada seems to be heading in the right direction with respect to inflation, though. And they're saying inflation is now down to 2%.
It's not really, though. It's not really. It's just because oil is lower. Like shelter is still up, food is up, everything is up.
Well, there's the price of homes have come down though, because that's just a reflection because rates are high, the economy.
Sure.
So there's that. You're right. Gasoline is stagnant in terms of the price, and that's directly from the price of oil. So yeah, but this is political points are being scored here because 2% this month, and the previous month, if I recall correctly, was somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. So, and it's been a bunch of months like that. And if you listen to the House of Commons, they always talk about it's been now a bunch of consecutive months within the target range of the Bank of Canada that they have achieved. And now they've lowered rates faster and more aggressively than any other country in the G7. And
very good sign.
And this is it. And you know what? Bank of Canada, the governor, Tiff Macklem, came out saying that they're also going to be trying to find out how inflation will be impacted by AI. They're doing a study into this too. So they targeted and they tackled inflation. Now they're going to try to figure out how AI is going to impact it moving forward.
Who better than Tiff and the boys to work on that initiative?
I have nothing to say about that. Like, I found it to be really interesting that they're looking at the 2%, though. The reality is, right, the rate of change has slowed down tremendously, and it could be to your point. It could be because oil has been, stagnant for a long time. But it is true, like nothing in terms of the price hasn't really changed all that much in the past few months. Prices are still high, though, right? Let's be honest. Prices are never going to revert back to insert year here because it's not going to go back to that. It's just going to be high, and tomorrow's going to be slightly higher and slightly higher. So the Bank of Canada are doing high fives. People in power are doing high fives. Is this going to result in anything politically, though? I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be a bump in the Liberal Party saying, look, we achieved 2%.
Who would they even pass that message to, Len? Like
they're sending it to everybody.
Yeah, but who would listen to inflation? Who would listen to it at this point? It's too late.
And I've talked about this at length before, when the economy is not doing all that good, when prices get higher, the people that get punished first are the ones in power. I mean, okay, I guess everybody gets punished first, but what they do, what's the recourse of that? They tend to vote out those that are in power, so that liberals are in a huge uphill battle just because prices are high and are going to stay high. There's nothing they can do to reverse that. It's just the reality. So
yeah.
And then we had the by-election, not two by-elections just last week.
Rough results for the governing party.
And to be honest, I don't think it's all that good for the NDP, because they didn't run away with it in Manitoba. I think that's where one of the by-elections were. It was much closer than what it should have been. And I think that they might have had a chance to win the riding in Quebec if they had a leader that could resonate with the folks over there. They needed a Federalist Party to be the alternative. They didn't have one.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
And that's how Quebec. So that's how NDP won quite a bit of seats in Quebec in 2011, is because they were the only Federalist Party standing that people would want to vote for. Conservatives never get voted in over there. Liberals, if they are torpedoed, who's left? The NDP. And even now, man, oh man, Jack Meat's not even going to win his riding according to the latest polls.
You just said that. Yeah, that is insane to me. I would love to know the number of times a federal party leader has lost his own or her own riding.
2011 is the last time I remember it, when Ignatieff didn't win his riding of Etobicoke Lakeshore. And before that, I think it was Kim Campbell.
Maybe. Yeah. In the 90s.
I'm talking about like a major party.
Yeah. Well, I only care about the three big ones, right?
Yeah. So I think those are the last two, but I could be proven wrong. Yeah. And
it's not good. The Liberals, I was watching Jean-Yves Duclos, and which other minister was on with Capellos last few days. They're doubling down on the messaging. Like, they just need the problem is that Canadians don't know what we've done for them. Like, I'm not sure even if you think that, I'm not sure that's what I'd be saying in these media appearances at this point.
What's going to happen moving forward? Honestly,
You've long been in the camp there's not going to be an election anytime soon.
I don't think there's going to be one this year. Because if the Bloc want one, which they may, and the Conservatives want one, you still need to have the NDP get on board. I don't think the NDP want to have one.
Well, that story came out today that they only have $240,000, something like that, in cash.
Oh, see, I didn't realize. I've always questioned about their finances.
That's what the story alleges. There's a couple of documents to go along with it, but like $240,000, Len, that might not even be enough to run a fucking like student union election at a university, let alone nothing.
2 elections ago, I think it was or 3, they mortgaged their property in Toronto to run that election. So they're not going to get corporate
lows, or what? Is that the rates were at historic lows, or what?
They were low, but still, that goes to show you that to borrow. They're not going to be relying on corporate. Even corporate's still limited by how much they could do, but corporate is not going to be out there to support NDP en masse.
Yeah.
So you're going to be relying on grassroots individuals, unions, and how much are they going to get? And
people have no money. NDP supporters are poor.
So they are relying on the voter subsidy. So the Liberal Party too is getting a lot of that too. But the Conservatives, they have cornered a market on that grassroots, just getting $10 from this person, $20. They fucking got millions of dollars. It's a war chest. They're going to unload all these attack ads next election. It's going to be disgusting.
Yeah.
Worked so well in 2011. Let's see.
They're already starting. Polyev is spending big money on unskippable YouTube ads. I can skip almost every ad I get, but Polyev is paying the big bucks to make sure I got to watch the full 30 seconds. Listen, come on. Let me go through. I don't want to watch this. Come on. Let me get to my video.
Maybe NDP should go all in on Hut 8 or something and try to fucking roll the dice.
Why don't they go leverage long on Binance coin or something? Cup and handle. See what happens.
Would it be against their MO if they got into Trump coin?
I I think their constituents might have something to say about that. But
what if they? Anyways, Bank of Canada, you hear that they're not going to move forward with the CBDC.
That's what they say. That's what they say. So, yeah.
At least they say they put it on pause for now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be forever. They'll come back to it in the future because they already sunk in millions of dollars in several years into the project, and that, not that money really means anything to them if they're the ones printing it, but I'm sure it does in the end. So I'm very certain they learned a lot from all this so far. And they say that they have undertaken significant research towards understanding the implications of a retail central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So right now they're just put on a hold. I suspect we're not going to hear about this for at least one election cycle, maybe two. And then at that point, we'll hear about it moving forward. Also, as other central banks around the world start releasing it, I think the Bank of Canada will also do the same. It's good that they're waiting. You don't want to be at the forefront of this. You'd rather let all these bugs work out.
Agreed.
And I like this approach. Not to say I'd like to see a CBDC come into reality, but I'd rather play it safe. The thing kind of works as it is. Let's not fuck around with it anymore.
Could I convince you that the actual CBDC is going to come on the back of one of these online identity bills?
I never thought of that.
But those are coming. Those are coming soon, right? Next year, probably latest.
But Polia's been dead set against these CBDCs. Do you think he'll flip on that?
I don't think
he's flipped on Bitcoin.
I don't think he's dead set against anything, honestly. I think they're all headed the same direction, right? The wind is blowing that way. You saw Telegram today. They're going to be giving up information to governments from now on anytime someone asks. CBDC is the next logical step in the panopticon. So I expect maybe they won't come from a central bank initiative or whatever, but some of these bills for identity, for example, will be perfect for starting your online identity app requirement. You're going to have to use your government app everywhere you go. And by the way, I can think of an app that was close to being able to pilot this kind of stuff, about 4 years ago. It's directionally, you cannot miss these signposts, man. You cannot miss them. They're everywhere.
There's a link I shared with you in a chat. Open it because this is another interesting thing that I had no idea this was.
You want me to share this?
Yeah, because this is from the international.gc.ca. It is a link that shows that Canada is giving foreign aid to a lot of countries out there. And one of the countries I don't know how, but China even gets foreign aid from Canada. China got last year $13 million in total from foreign aid. So you scroll, just type Control F and then type in China. I think it's a second China. So click again one more time.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. This is the list of countries that get, on the left side, it's in millions of dollars, that get money from Canada. So Afghanistan's getting 130 million almost.
Nuts. Look at this.
Singapore on the list, by the way.
And we're paying for all India's kids to come here and giving them another 110 million.
Singapore's on the list. Scroll down.
Yeah, there they are. Yeah.
So China, second largest economy in the world.
Insane.
And they're getting, I don't know how this aid is, like what fashion, but if anything, I thought it would be the opposite, where they would have sent us $130 million worth of aid. But I just learned that this is from 2023, my mistake. So last year information. And yeah, man, I'm just flabbergasted at the fact that there's a lot of aid being sent out to India, China of all people getting aid.
Who decides where aid money goes?
I don't know.
I need to know what the rubric is. You could probably file an information request for that, but the rubric for deciding fund money obviously needs to be reviewed. Let's say if China's getting, 110 million. The other thing too is even if you think China needs help, they're clearly a country with human rights issues, right? Clearly a country who's been on the offensive in terms of influencing elections over here. They're a country who's on the offensive in terms of cornering supply chains, cornering supply lines, cornering all this stuff. Do we really need why send them any money at all?
Singapore's fucking rich, man.
Yeah. It's
like
financial
that
hub,
place.
right? Yeah.
I gotta fucking Singapore get money from this.
This is like, it's almost like we're at this point now where
North Korea is on the list. North Korea.
I'm not saying this is like a huge scandal, but in quote unquote normal times, this would have gotten attention, right? In quote unquote normal times, you would have had bigger news stories about, for example, I think it was Table Salt or Everybody Been Rinsed, one of those accounts on Twitter, posting recently the number of dollars that immigrants to the country get, asylum seekers to the country get. It's like $70,000 or $80,000 a year, basically. Huge amount of money. That would have got more attention. But the missteps and unbelievable resource allocation stories are so great in number now that no one can focus on any one thing. You're like, the zone is flooded with stuff that's just, it's bewildering. Maybe not, maybe it's not like, enraging people, but it should be bewildering to people. It's just that there's so much, no one can spend more than a day or 20 or 2 hours or 15 minutes or whatever on any one story, and they just move on to something else. I'm guilty of that too, by the way. Like, my friends send me stuff all the time. I'm just like, I don't have the bandwidth to care about this. This other thing's going on.
So much.
Yeah.
Did you see that a lot of there's an uptick of those people here that are in student loans that they're filing claims for asylum?
Amazing. Well, who would have thunk? So, like, what the fuck, man? That's why I said on Tom's show the other day that, like, if you think, not the other day, it was like a month ago now or whatever, but if you think
yesterday.
Yeah, if you think why?
What?
Why does it seem like yesterday?
No, it just seemed like we're just on it. I don't know. I made him once change his shirt.
Did you? He's wearing a Bedford shirt?
He was wearing
nice.
I just showed up.
I'm not a very nice.
He changed his shirt.
Okay, so I need to know, like, where were these people who a month ago were saying that when Mark Miller got on TV and said, yeah, we have to reduce the number of international students. What did I say on this show and on Tom's show? I said all he's going to do is shuffle the deck, right? He's going to play a shell game with the terms that are related to these people and their current status. And, it's not going to actually change the number of people in the country, which is really what needs to happen. The number of people in the country needs to drop. The people who are here on temporary, visas have to be told to go home. India, I'm told constantly by every, Tom, Dick, and Harry in the media, is the world's largest democracy. It's a perfectly functioning government. It's this, it's that. Well, then how the fuck can you claim asylum from there then? Go back home when your visa's expired. That's all. That was the deal. Like, it's not like we're changing the rules here. Okay. That was the deal. We should just stick to the deal. Whatever backlash you get, who cares? Who cares? What are they going to do? Protest? They'll be in Bangladesh or whatever. It doesn't matter at that point. But you can't stay here and you can't change the rules, claim asylum. I can't remember if I said this on the show, but I'll say it now. Anyone who claims asylum should be immediately deported if they ever go back to that country on a vacation. The original country. If you claim asylum from country X and land in Canada and then go back to country X for a vacation, you're deported. You're not allowed back. That's it.
Wait, so I don't get it. So let's play this out.
Because when you claim asylum, it's like the country you came from is dangerous, right? That's generally the sort of rules of engagement when it comes to those claims. And so if you leave a country because it's too dangerous and then you go to vacation in that country for 2 months in the summertime every year from Canada, like, it's obviously not that dangerous. You can't come back here.
That generally doesn't happen. The only time that would happen is if you become a Canadian citizen. So if you come here.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I could play this out for you. So if you come here and you make a claim for asylum, during that claim you can't leave for the most part,
right?
Because you don't have any travel documents. You could apply to Canada for a travel document, but there's very few places that will allow you to go there anywhere.
Yeah.
So you'd have to wait to become a permanent resident. Okay, so you get your permanent residence, and you can't travel back home to where they made a claim for asylum, because at that point, then what's the fuck? But they can, once they become citizens of Canada, then they are free to fly back to where they came from. Like, but at that point in time, to me, a long period of time has elapsed. So
to me, that's enough. Like, it just doesn't. You're at the point now where something about the rules they have to change. They have to change.
But as a Canadian, you have the right to travel wherever. You can't. Like, I could live anywhere.
Maybe I'm being too harsh. I get what you're saying, but like, I just think that there's so much backlash about all this stuff from the Indian community and the international student community and the universities and the colleges and the corporations who are using low wage labor to supplement their quarterly reporting. I just don't care. Like I do not care. All these things need to burn down, man. All of them. The systems are so broken at this point that, we actually, for the first time ever, went from calling everybody who said these systems were broken a racist to, I think Capello's quoted a survey, 75% of Canadians now have soured on immigration, not soured on permanent residents, not soured on international students, soured on immigration.
Like was it working better, say, 10 years ago, in your opinion?
It's hard to say. Honestly, I don't know.
I don't think a lot of the problems that we see today, I think that the system was functioning in a much better state when you were allowing in every year 300,000 people.
Small number of people, yeah.
Because it was easier to absorb them. Yeah. And they come here, they go find jobs, and they help build up the economy.
There should just be rules about like who can come too, Len. Like I've said this before, but if 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, you couldn't just come here with a TikTok video scam and claim asylum at the airport, right? Like you had to come here and show you had income.
For asylum, you needed nothing.
Not for asylum, but to immigrate here, right? Like this was the sort of more standard operating procedure from a place like India, for example, right? How many Indians claimed asylum 10 years ago?
Not many.
And now
I think it's upticked because there's a lot more, and they don't want to go back.
It hasn't just upticked. In the minister's own words, the number is alarming.
Yeah.
Something's got to be done for sure. I don't know.
So they'll be figure it out, but the process is they'll be heard. Their asylum case will be heard, and if it's fraudulent or doesn't have it, eventually then they'll be asked to go back. If they don't go back willingly, then they'll be forcibly
removed.
Removed.
Yeah,
and then it's going to be
ugly.
Whatever.
That's ugly. Yeah,
it is, and then they can't come back at all at that point. Last story. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but in Vancouver, everyone knows the price of homes is so fucking high.
Oh yeah.
And the government of BC is going to try to invest $670 million in this new program. 2,600 new housing units are planned in the Heatherlands in Vancouver, and they're going to be sold at 60% of market value. This is going to be a joint announcement it was a joint announcement by the province, the city, and 3 First Nation communities. And I would like to say their names. Sorry, I'll try it. Squamish is one of them. The other 2 is hard for me to pronounce, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sure.
So this is an attainable housing initiative. And so 40% of the financing is going to come from the province. As I mentioned, $670 million. So example, market price of a $620,000 studio unit is going to end up costing the buyer $372,000 in the end. What could go wrong from this? I don't know, but this is one way to make things more affordable. But man, you can't have everybody get it. There's only 2,400 units, 2,600 units in this case.
Let's tie this into the mortgage rule change, right? So
sure,
you got all these things that are pushing on demand, while supply is not just stagnating; it's actually dropping. Right, lower number of starts than 2016 or 17, I think I saw. So like, there's two problems. One is that the people who are being quote unquote helped don't seem to understand that the prices of all the things they want to buy are just going to go up. That's one problem, right? And you're seeing that as far as supply and whatnot, including in the story you just mentioned. The thing that really caught my attention though, Len, is that the new benefit for the mortgage rules here. So just the rehash this for people who only listen to the second half of the show. If you are a new buyer of a home, you can get 30-year AM on an uninsured mortgage or an insured mortgage now. And also if you're buying a new build, you can get 30-year AM on uninsured or insured mortgage. In both cases, the cap for the total cost of the home is $1.5 million.
No, that's the insured part. So that's going to be CMHC insured will be up to 1.5. Previously it was 1 million.
Right. So the implication for me there, Len, is that there's some portion of the government that thinks that the Canadian starter home costs $1.5 million. What's that? 12 times, 13 times your income?
Way more. I'm not sure how many people are earning a buck and a quarter.
Yeah. So like, what? No one thought that was something we should maybe double check on before we launch this initiative? No, of course not, because there's an election around the corner. That is bad. Like the idea that a Canadian starter home should cost, again, like I said, 12 or 13, because if you're a couple, maybe it's 12 or 13. But if you're single, yeah, you're talking, 30 times probably, right? Something like that. Crazy. And 30-year AM will cost you a bunch more in interest payments. It'll cut into your retirement years. I don't know, buddy. Like, this is why you Bitcoin, right? This is why you don't like real estate is this. I can continue to think it's like a ticking time bomb. And I think a lot of people who have like rental companies and rental properties and student rentals and whatever, like, good for you. Keep the train rolling as long as you can, especially if you're not leveraged up, if you're buying cash or whatever. But the housing market here is about to go into bubble territory that it has never been seen anywhere on the planet. Never.
And how will this be backed? It's going to have to be with some sort.
It's backed by the taxpayer at the end of the day, right?
Yes. And that's going to absolutely wreck the valuation of the Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
And then the price of homes are going to go. I mean, it will drop down tremendously during that initial crash, but then eventually you'll find a floor and then ramp back up because there's going to be a flood of currency that's going to be floating around, and then
there'll be more demand stimulus too, probably, right? Demand stimulus is what you get, is what voters think they want, basically. So anything that helps you with your buying power, that's what you will get. And that's
they'll bail out these people with your TFSA, Joey. That's what's gonna do. So that's what's going to be done. I think we finally come full circle here. And I think that's what's going to be done is people's TFSA, specifically yours.
I can't wait. All my MSTR and Coinbase stock gone.
Yeah, they're going to sell that, liquidate everything.
Gone to a Squamish condo.
So somebody could enjoy living in a shoebox. Remember those Nova Scotia homes, which were like, I forget, the 70 square foot?
Yeah, the trailers or something. Or whatever. Yeah.
Fuck, man. Like, now these are both sides of the country. The East Coast with those very tiny units. Now the West Coast for these homes that are going to be partially subsidized up to 40% of financing by the province. Whatever. Those are two stories, extreme ends of the country, but it just paints a picture of what the real estate industry is, what's going on right now. And it's
the vibes very important. So high. They're so high.
Fuck,
I've never felt better about having Bitcoin. I'll tell you that. Every day I'm more and more glad, because I just think like, if you're looking at all this stuff and you don't have any, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I got buddies who still don't have any and think this is a scam. I just think, man, if you only knew how bad it was, you guys, people listen to this show now.
A couple of big events away from being totally wiped out. 2008 was a big event, but it pales in comparison to what happened, say, 4 years ago. And the next one's going to make 2020 look fucking tiny by comparison. And every time we go through this exercise, it just absolutely wrecks the dollar. Come on, let's be honest. The US dollar, it didn't go up and didn't lose value like 10 or 15 or 20%. It lost a heck of a lot more in 4 years' time. Look at the price of homes, the price of cars. Look how much your grocery bill is. That's the real price of how much your dollar has lost.
Yeah, it's a real cost of inflation.
Yeah. So take that for what it's worth. When you're shopping around for that new car and you can't find one for under 40, that's decent. Fuck, before we could buy cars for $7,000, $8,000. I mean, this was 35, 40 years ago, but that's in my lifetime.
Okay, so update here before we go. Dollar index was 106 in April, is now down to 100. So like it's like kind of doing a little bit of a bottoming pattern here, but we'll see.
They're doing near my house an underpass under the train tracks. It's going to cost $250 million to do that, Joey.
Insane.
We used to send people to the moon for that. I mean, now that's a stretch. It wasn't the case, but fuck, we could send people in orbit for that amount. And now we can only build an underpass for that. Eventually, that's going to be, you got to put 250 billion to fucking do the same thing.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Strap in. Go watch Monday Night Football, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night with Carrie Lutz, Financial Survival Network. We're going to be talking about all the things coming down the pipe you should be worried about. Until then, take care of yourselves.
Don't be a cock.